Why are you saying no?
Hold on.
Why are you being negative before we even start the show? Why can't you just get with the flow? Stop saying no.
What are you talking about?
Come on, bro. I'm like Westchester Dr. Seuss.
Alrighty. Make rhyme la 40.
La 40. Ahí no está una tuerta.
Ahí se te cayó una tuerca.
Okay, that works
En
too.
la 40.
Uh-huh. Okay. De la camioneta.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, everybody.
There's a reason we're not winning Grammys.
Everybody, welcome to episode 331.
Yes, you got it. Let's give him a round of applause.
I got that one, people. I got that one. How is everybody?
Oh, well, I hope that by the time they're hearing this, they're a lot drier than we are right now when we're recording.
Oh yeah, it's raining in Miami this week. What a surprise!
But it's in February. It doesn't rain in February.
It rains in December. Like nothing makes sense anymore. Like you surprised by this?
No, nothing makes sense anymore. That's
especially
true.
climate wise. Like
That's true.
I always used to say that, like, I knew that in March when it was the fair here in Miami,
yes.
It used to be cold. And now, because I have pictures of myself throughout the years when I was a kid going to the fair in March and, like, I have sweaters on. Yeah. And now it's like you go in tank tops and,
Ahorita una
tanga. Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but,
that's next year's theme.
So how is everybody? We're almost done with February.
We are almost done with February.
Okay, Happy
belated Valentine's Day. We didn't even acknowledge it last week, and it landed on a Friday.
Valentines. Before we forget, before we go on with the show,
okay.
For those of you that are going to be this weekend here in
yes.
South Florida, we will be at Ping Pam Pollo.
Yep.
Not pero, let me tell you, but Ping Pam Pollo.
Yes, we're gonna be wearing a different shirt.
We will be, we're in orange. We will be at the South Beach Food and Wine Festival on Saturday. We're gonna be in an event called the Chicken Coop, which is some of the best restaurants in town that have, that are specialized in chicken.
Yep.
And
somehow we keep getting invited.
Chicken. Well, we are one of the best chicken places in town. Chicken and champagne. So if you like chicken and you like champagne
and alliterations,
this is your thing.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, we are going to be at the Grand Tasting, the Goya Grand Tasting, which is one of the biggest events at the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And it's thousands of people. And we're still tired from last year, and hence we're doing it this year.
I think I'm going to start taking naps now for Sunday.
I can't take naps. I have to make sauce. I have to make sauce for thousands of people.
That is true.
But I did sign up for this.
This is true. And hopefully one of those thousands of people is you.
Ustedes.
Yes.
So come visit us at the South Beach.
Do we want to give them a little sneak peek of which flavor is going to be on which day?
Go ahead.
All right. Just so Sunday, we're going to be doing again the Santero, our white Alabama barbecue sauce, because we came close to winning last year, and this year
we got second place.
Dag nabbit, we want it. We want it bad. I can taste it, and it tastes like Santero. Wait, the sauce. And then on Saturday we're gonna be doing our elote wings, which has been kind of MIA.
Yes, although it's that is one of our most popular wings, and we did the only logical thing. We took it off the menu. And people...
But it's like the McRib.
Yeah, and people ask for it all the time. And we're like, yeah, no, it's off the menu. And we don't know if we're bringing it back. But we are bringing it back for South Beach Food and Wine Festival. Yeah. And then after that, it'll probably be on the menu for a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you like elote street corn, imagine swapping out the corn for a chicken wing.
And it's just as good as that sounds.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't eat none of it, but it's good. I hear it's good.
Well, no, I'm sure you eat the elote still because it's not... We don't do it as often.
I don't eat any of them.
No, not even the non-regular flavors?
No, I just... taste the sauce.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Be like, the sauce is on point. Next.
All right.
I can't.
Right. Está como Ariana Grande.
Thank you. Next. Yes. I mean, she could be a lot of things.
She could be a chicken wing.
Right now?
Well, as Glinda, the good chicken wing.
I don't know. Right now, she's more of a flat. Before, she was like a drum.
Okay, that's fair.
When she was a little bit more voluptuous.
A little plumper.
A little plumper.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying? A little plumper?
Yes, a little plumper. The ponytail was higher. Yeah.
Man, she had that ponytail on for years.
I think it just left.
The ponytail is like, we're done
I think
here.
It's sentient. It's just like, you know what, Ari, we've parted ways. I must go on my own journey.
It was good while it lasted.
Yes, we had a good 15-year run.
Wow. Has she been around for that long?
I mean, I guess if you start adding up her time on Nickelodeon stuff, probably, yeah.
Probably. Anyway, so it is a bad time to be flying.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what's up with all these planes falling?
I don't know because I don't know enough about aerodynamics and things.
You mean airplanes?
Well, right, but I don't even know how they get off the ground.
Okay.
I don't know how they land either.
Okay.
Land. Although I guess it makes more sense that they land. What goes up must come down. But
yes, it's part of the experience.
Yeah, the experience. Oh, is that what we're calling the experience?
Well, yes. When you take off on a plane, you land. That's how that works.
That is how that works, unless you're just flying around over Pangea. Call back to our first episode here. Pero, oye, the one in Toronto.
So for those of you who have been under a rock, earlier this week there was a, I believe it was American Airlines. Delta. It was Delta. That it was arriving in or landing in Toronto. And it was snowing, and for some reason I'm not sure if it had like a crash landing or it skidded off the runway.
Skidded off the runway because
the plane
flipped.
It flipped, and there's people like the plane was completely upside down, and when it was upside down, there were people who were strapped on their seats, and I'm like, this is like being stuck at a ride in the youth fair, in like the fair, in a carnival ride. But thankfully, everybody got out. There were a couple of people that got seriously injured, but from what I hear, nothing.
Okay, but for what it could have been,
right? Nothing is like life threatening.
Right.
And it's just incredible. There's some footage of people inside getting out, and has leaked already online. And I mean, it's just so scary.
It's terrifying. Although I will say this, that I don't know how would you get off? Because think about it. You're upside down, right? You've got your seatbelt on. I'm trying to visualize how would I get down, and I don't know how I would.
You would just fall.
I guess, but I'd like to think I'd try to be more graceful.
I mean,
I guess first you have
I think it's one of those things that there are probably people who didn't have their seatbelt on, or even the flight attendants that just hit when the plane turned around. And then if there's a few people, then they could help the people get down.
Right.
So when they unbuckle you unbuckle the seatbelt, you could sort of the more people you do that, the more you could help. But it's just, you got to deplane in seconds, and
it's true because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's very, very scary.
It's terrifying.
But it's just thankfully you never hear plane crashes, and
this is number 12
in the last month. There's been many.
Granted, everyone in the FAA.
Some have been small planes, but you know how it is. When something happens, and then another thing happens, it's sort of when there's shark bites. That it's the summer of shark bites,
right.
and then
you hear about it for another 20 years.
You look at the data. Oh, it's there's not any more this year than there was last year.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the case with planes, but it's just so happened that because there's been a handful of them within a very, very short amount of time,
it seems like it's always happening.
Yeah. I remember, I don't remember, but I remember the movie, and I think it was in the 80s when a Hawaiian Airlines.
It was a Hawaiian airline. It was a transfer flight.
A piece of the airplane fuselage came out, and then a purser, a stewardess, was a flight attendant was sucked out.
The roof.
Do you remember the TV movie?
Oh. Not only do I remember the TV movie, I saw said TV movie while we were in Hawaii.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, at least you didn't see it on the plane to Hawaii.
Right, exactly. I saw it when we were in Hawaii, and it was and we got to go and get on one of those things.
Well, you could sail back to the mainland.
No, but the thing is, it was one of the island hopper planes. So, yeah, we had to get one to go from, Oahu to Maui. Right. And I was like, but we just saw the thing. I
remember when you went to Hawaii. It was in 1993.
That was I think the first time.
You sent me a postcard.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you sent me.
You remember
I still have that postcard.
You do?
I do. Of course I do.
Of course you do.
I keep everything.
Of course you do. You're just one bag of dead cats away from being on Hoarders.
Oh my gosh. So guys, we our listeners, we had the funniest funniest sort of story this weekend happened to us. So we were at a friend's 15s.
Oh, yes.
We were at a friend's 15s, and it was great. It was one of our closest friends. Her daughter was turning 15, so she had like a party, and yes, she did look very lovely in her quinceañera dress. So happy quinces, Mila.
Yes,
we love you.
Love you.
So there we were talking, and a friend of mine who she's a few years older than we are, but her daughter is 15.
Oh, yes.
Her daughter was saying on how her mom isn't cool and whatever. And I was trying to explain to her that that I realize that when you're 15, you think your parents aren't cool, but we are cool because we were raised here. We know American culture, unlike our parents who, were immigrants, didn't know American culture, and everything was super cubanazo, right? And you'd be like, oh my God. You all go through that. When you're an immigrant family, you go through that you're like, oh my God, my parents are so, Cuban. They're so Mexican. They're so touch. Colombian. Why can't you be more Americanized? As a kid, you always go through that. And she was saying how her mom was so uncool. And I was telling her, you know what? No, we're really cool. We may be in our 40s, but we're really cool. Yep. And look, for example, my kid's first concert was the freaking weekend, and we went and we rocked that concert. And, my parents would have never taken me to that. And I was telling her, what my first concert was?
I think you said it on the show.
It was
before.
Angela Carrasco at the James L. Knight Center. I was 13, and I'm like, this woman is adult contemporary. Why am I here? But then,
I was going to say, yes, the best part of the story.
And I'm here thinking wow, this is the worst, right? She's complaining that her parents aren't cool, and I'm telling her, hey, my son's first concert was The Weeknd. How cool is that? And I'm there unlike me, my first concert was Angela Carrasco. And then another friend of ours turns around and she's like, I'm going to one-up you. My first concert was Libertad Lamarque. And for those of you who don't know, Libertad Lamarque is was born, I think, in 1905, and she lived to be 90-something years old. She is too old for our parents.
Oh, no.
So I was telling her,
you need to use the reference.
I was telling her, when your parents went to go see her, she was significantly older than your parents. And she's like, yeah, they were very into her. And I'm like, do you realize that I think she was Perón, Perón from Argentina, her lover? She was Evita Perón's rival. That's how old she is. And this was your first concert. So I just thought it was really funny.
I think she may have time traveled for that concert.
No, pero Libertad Lamarque was working until 2000, 2001.
Until her early 200s?
She died at 92, 94. But she worked until she died. She had novelas through the 2000s. She did.
So she was the Frankie Valli of
her
time?
She was an usurpadora.
Oh, she was. Wow.
She was an usurpadora, and that came out what, 1999?
So she was the Betty White of Latin America.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Libertad Lamarque used to sing a lot in La Liga contra Cáncer on those telethons.
I feel everybody did.
It's so funny that telethons is a very American thing.
Yeah, I can't think of,
it's a very American thing.
Yeah.
But we grew up with La Liga contra Cáncer. That telethon. So that was something that was very common then to us.
My tia used to volunteer for the phones.
The
phone bank.
I remember the song. 633-3555. 633. And
it's probably the same number.
Celia Cruz used to do it every year.
Every year.
And they used to collect money.
Yeah.
So, man, Libertad Lamarque. And here I was thinking Angela Carrasco. Yeah. Because Angela Carrasco was in her 30s. Señora. She was in her 30s or 40s in the 80s. Right? So she was contemporary to my parents. But Libertad Lamarque would have been contemporary to our friend's great-grandmother. And this was her first concert. And here was this girl oh my God, my parents aren't cool. I'm like,
you don't know what
girl,
you don't know what uncool is.
Her first concert was a K-pop band.
Yeah.
So it's you're doing well.
You're fine.
You're doing
you're
well.
Good. You're good.
Doing well.
So I do want to bring something up just because you mentioned Quinces. So today we actually have, Junior couldn't be here to produce, but we have Mark with us today.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Give it up for Mark.
Hi, Mark. To quote the room.
Hello.
Hi, Mark. But I wanted to bring something up that Mark mentioned to me earlier that I know is going to make you feel like I didn't even know this was an option of a job one could aspire to.
You go to Quinces and rate them?
You are on the right path.
Okay.
Mark used to film quinces on cruise ships.
Oh, that's the best.
That's like a double header for you.
On Carnival, right?
Mainly Royal, but
Mainly Royal?
every once in a while Carnival.
So you used to go on like the Voyager of the Seas and, film the quinceañeras and,
The Voyager's a little bit older. The Oasis and the
He's
Allure.
younger.
Oh,
He's a
the
little
Oasis.
younger than us,
The
so yeah.
Oasis. The Oasis class.
Yeah.
The Allure of the Seas, and they're still big, the quinceañera cruises.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Happy Holidays travel.
Yeah,
Shout out
it's
to
been a minute since you've done it, but
Yeah.
the minute that he said it, I was like, oh, I need to tell Darian because that's like combining two of your favorite things.
Cruises and
And
quinces.
quinces, yeah.
And how was that experience?
It was nice. I was on a cruise for a very long time. One year was 4 weeks straight, then a week off, and 2
But
weeks.
you used to work for Royal Caribbean?
No, I worked for Happy Holidays. And then I was just the videographer. So I
Oh.
would just video the events.
And they used to charter, so you were always on there.
Yeah.
They're the ones on
Corway.
Corway, right?
Yeah.
By the
Corway.
Palmetto?
Right next to the Palmetto, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
they've been there forever.
Yeah. And you know what I think is so interesting is that, like, in the 80s and early 90s, quinces were a big thing. And then by the time we were 15, that's when quinceañera cruises took off.
Yes.
Because when we were 15, quinces weren't in anymore.
No.
They didn't come back until My Sweet 16 on MTV.
Yeah.
But like in the 90s, which is when we were 15, it was the cruises.
Se hacían, pero not like in the 80s.
Yeah, no. It was the cruises. And man, that's a lot of quinceañeras in one cruise.
I know.
How many would it be?
25, sometimes 30 would be like, I think, the most.
Wow.
Quinceañeras.
Quinceañeras. And then the families.
Right.
Because then it's not just like the parents, it's also the tias and the abuelas.
Right. So they
cousins.
take up, most of the Oasis ship.
It would be like half.
Yeah.
Coño.
And that was at the time the biggest ship in the world. So do the math.
That's a lot of tool.
A lot.
That's a lot of tool.
What's the craziest thing you saw on there?
I don't think I can say that on a podcast publicly.
So what's the craziest thing you could say on a podcast?
Right. On a family-friendly podcast.
I guess it would just be like the parents when they would go to like La Romana or whatever, like to the all-inclusive bars. There would always be a parent that would come back like on a wheelchair because they were so drunk.
Coño.
Oh, wow.
Oh, every single time.
En los 15 de la niña.
Haciendo malos papeles.
Yeah, DR was bad because they'd always bring the aguardiente out, like
Yeah.
a bottle. There'd always be a bottle. I don't know where this bottle came from. It was always frozen, and they would bring it out, and people would just be in the pool with their mouth open as they would just pour it into their mouths, and I mean, that's just going to end
On
bad.
board.
No, it would usually be, so like the way that they would do is they'd set tours for when they would get to certain places.
Okay.
And there was always one that would be like an all-inclusive hotel.
Okay.
Which they would, try to warn people. It's all inclusive. People who drink a lot, when they go
Beware.
to these places, they drink more.
Claro.
So they tend, and they're in the sun. They're not really eating.
Still dehydrated, yeah.
Yeah.
They're
So
partying.
They're having a good time. They're there to celebrate the quinces.
it would be phenomenal. And I would love it because I know what was happening. And I would just sit back and just let it kind of happen. Sometimes if I liked them, I would tell them, hey, man, have some water or something. But,
Right.
they don't listen to the young
And you were
camera guy.
documenting this.
I was going to
as-
say.
Oh, yeah, I would document that. Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't working all the time. It was just certain events that we would do. So obviously the quinces, the first day when they would do like a practice as soon as we would get on. And then the second day would be the actual quinceañera. And then that would be like a whole show. All of them would dance
In like the main theater.
in the main theater. And then all of them would dance with their dads or whoever they wanted to dance with. And they would all have a chance to do, a little spotlight. And then afterwards would just be a party right there on the stage with all the families. And then all the other days would be about an hour of work, maybe just like a little video segment by the pool. Like when we would get there to the place, we'd do something for maybe an hour.
And you would do like one communal video for like the week.
one communal video for all the girls.
Okay. That is a fun job.
That would be great.
I mean, I would have a blast doing that.
Oh, again.
Because I'll
when
be
he
like,
said
¿cuál
this,
es tu
I'm
color
like-
favorito?
When he said it, I'm like, this
I'd
is
ask him
Darian's
like
dream
really,
job.
really like silly questions. Like,
And when the GoPro came out, it got even easier. Those pool segments, I would just hand them a GoPro and I'd be like, jump in the pool, go down the slide. And they'd basically do my job for me.
right.
I mean,
phenomenal.
work smarter, not harder.
That was a great gig.
It was a great gig. Thank you, Happy Holidays, for doing that for me.
Well, still going strong. Happy holidays. If you would like to come up and let me tell you
we're
and
here.
talk to us.
Or
about-
if you'd like for us to go and MC a quince cruise. You got to speak things into existence. You got to.
I think you would be phenomenal for that.
You got.
I mean, that I've always said it on the show here. That's like, but the thing, the Quinces that I want to do like a traditional tacky 15.
The problem is that you want to time travel.
Yeah, I don't want to. Well,
Right.
No. Those 15 still exist.
Yeah, okay, but
Those
but the
15
laws
still
of
exist.
probability
Right.
are not on your side.
I don't want to do a simple fancy 15s at a nice ballroom. Right. I want to do like the banquet hall.
Right. You want the more ratchet.
While
the
they
better.
play Europa.
Where did that song go?
Back to Europa. I mean, and they don't dance "De Niña Mujer" by Julio Iglesias anymore. But that was the jam back then for like 30 years.
That was the jam, and then of course the
the
borderline incestuous song,
De Niña Mujer.
Hermanos.
Oh my God, Hermanos. My sister-in-law danced that song when she got married with her two brothers. By Pimpinela.
Who was just here in Miami at a concert.
Well, but at least Pimpinela, when they sang Hermanos, they sang it in the capacity of siblings.
Of actual being siblings.
Not
right?
lovers.
Right,
like
not
they
like
did
all
in
their other
songs.
songs. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quinces are the best. The best. Like, forget a debutante ball. No,
I know
15s.
that. Debutante balls have too many gloves.
Too many gloves?
All the girls in the debutante balls, I feel, wear gloves.
Yeah.
And like those opera length things. It's too hot here for gloves.
I bet that there's people probably on these quinceañera cruises, like, you know, Americanos or whatever, that have no idea about the Quinces. They're like, why are there all these girls here? Like, what's the big deal? Why are they all together?
Is it a cotillion?
Yeah.
Well, they would think that they were getting married.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
What would they think?
That's what they would do. They would think that they're getting married. They're like, oh, congratulations. Like, when's the wedding or where's the husband or whatever. I'm like, these girls are 15 years old. And some of them wouldn't look 15, obviously, but like a lot of them looked younger than 15.
Yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean? I'm like, these girls aren't getting married. Why do you think there's 20
We're marrying them
brides?
off.
Yeah, it's not a cult.
Oh my God. Now that he said travel agency, me being who I am, I remember when I was like 14 or 15, we went on a cruise, like the whole family, and we did it through a travel agent. And they all made us wear the same shirt the day we boarded the cruise so we could all take a group picture with the travel agency shirt. And I was like, no, I'm not wearing it. Because you know that's a pet peeve of mine. Like, you know how last week I was talking about a pet peeve? Another pet peeve of mine are matching things. Nope, not doing it.
Oh, I think there's a time for matchy things.
Nope.
You can do like for like a Christmas card if you're wearing matching pajamas with like your 6-month-old baby. That's cute.
I mean, that is cute for you.
It's cute for everyone except for Mr. Contrarian in 1994 over here.
I never said that I'm not. But I remember my parent. No, and I remember that like the travel agency had like booked one of the rooms, like one of the clubs in the ship, so there could be like an onboard party, and you had to wear.
So they were like there.
Yeah.
The
And you had
agency.
you had to wear, you know, like the shirt. And I'm like, I'm not going to the party. I don't care. I am not wearing the shirt.
Ay, Yang, you missed out on a great party.
But you know what? Karma is a bitch because now I have that kid that is like, nope. And I'm like,
If only you'd worn the travel agency.
If only I had worn. Can you imagine if that would have been a butterfly effect?
That's the butterfly
and
effect.
everything would have just been different.
That's the butterfly effect. It's because you
I
did not wear
would-
Welcome to Go Travels.
It was Metropolis Travel.
There you go.
In 1994, we were going on the Carnival Ecstasy.
If you only wore
And I was so
Metropolis
excited.
Travel.
I was too excited to wear a matching shirt.
And look at you now.
See, I was so annoyed. That is like, I'm sure if I were to do some type of diagnostic testing, that would come out. When I was in high school, my PE shirt did not match everybody else's.
Oh, I don't remember what the hell.
I bought a varsity shirt because I didn't want to have the same shirt as everybody else. It was a Southwest shirt.
What was the varsity?
The varsity shirt was, it said Southwest. It was a varsity shirt.
What was the other one?
The regular PE shirt just had an SW and an eagle. That was the standard PE one, right? But you could wear, like, for example, the kids that were in like a sport, you could wear your varsity T-shirt or whatever to PE. So I wasn't in a sport then. So I just bought a varsity shirt and I wore it to PE.
I think I wore like the shirt that my cousins had and handed down.
Because I was like, I'm not wearing the same one. Yeah, I am that person. Not everybody's perfect.
It's true. It's true. We all have our faults.
We all have our faults. That's a pet peeve of mine.
And that's
okay.
So many pet peeves on this show lately.
Something I wanted to mention to you because this is up your alley.
Oh.
But I was watching something this week about Captain America.
Okay.
That there's a bit of a pushback by Captain America. That the actor Anthony Mackie, there's some pushback because obviously he's the first Captain America, and a lot of people.
Well, he's the first Black Captain America. Yes.
Right, first Black Captain America, and there's been a lot of pushback in the last couple of weeks over something that he said, and I wanted to pose a question and then pass it to you because you're an expert at this.
Okay.
My first comment is, hasn't he been Captain America for a minute already? Because I have seen him as Captain America before. And secondly, the statement that he gave, I don't know if you've read it.
No.
I think that what he was trying to say, and then of course the internet being the internet went to something else, is that Captain America is not of America insofar that Captain America doesn't represent a country, more so an ideology of like, being a hero, helping people out, being courageous, things like that. That is what is sort of America, not that Captain America is the protector of the country, right? So I wanted to pass that to you because is that what Captain America is? And again, if there's pushback because he's the first Black Captain America, again, he's been in other movies as Captain America, right?
So here's the thing. So he got so in the comic books, I'm going to take a step back. In the comic books, Falcon, which is the character that he played prior, has taken up the mantle of Captain America because, again, these characters have been around for eons. So, sometimes Steve Rogers is like, I'm done, or, he's in a coma or whatever.
Steve Rogers is Captain America?
Is the Chris Evans Captain America, yeah. So, so Falcon has stepped in and taken up the mantle. Fair enough, fine. To your point, he was given the shield at the end of the last Avengers movie, and then he did Falcon and Winter Soldier, excuse me, which was a Disney Plus show, wherein yes, he was already he was already Captain America. This is the first movie where he is playing Captain America.
But why are people outraged? I mean, he's already been Captain America.
Because it's 2025. I mean, that's the bottom line. Why are people outraged? It's because it's 2025, and if you're not outraged, are you even
here?
Are you even on social media, bro? So there's that. Now, as to what his comment is, I think that does speak to something we've been seeing a lot lately, not just with Captain America, but also even with Superman, right? And I'm gonna pivot to Superman to kind of explain what you were saying about America. So historically growing up, Superman was the whole tagline was like he stands for truth, justice, and the American way, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it's been changed to now, but it's no longer like truth, justice, and the American way. It's truth, justice, and something else. Mm-hmm. Because the idea is, and this similar to Captain America, is that he is not representative of the country, but the values and ideals that we should strive for as a country or as a society, insofar as how it should be in the U.S.
Okay,
that is what Captain America is about. And I think, again, I don't really know the quote that he was saying, but I think what they're trying to do, and again, in these much more ever polarizing times, right, is they're basically trying to say, like, look, it's not about whatever, because you can have an argument or a conversation with anybody about, well, what does America mean? Like, there are people who are like, America's always been racist. America's always been this, right? So to say like, oh, it's about the American ideals or American values, well, according to who? Right? According to whose quote unquote values of what it is to be an American. And so I think what they are more trying to do is take a step back and make it more about, it should be about what we hope we put forth as a country, which is, justice, equality, truth, etc. Whether those ideals are actually happening or not is a conversation for another day. But that, I think, is what ultimately these heroes stand for, specifically because they were created in this country during a time of, think about these characters, Captain America, Superman, they're from the 40s. They're from like the time right after WW2. right? So they were created amongst a time.
That means World War II.
Yeah,
people.
sorry. They were created amongst, they were created around this time of this swell in American patriotism, right? Because it was, you fight for your country. You've got to go defend what we stand for against, the Nazis and the axis of evil and all that. So that really does, those things are baked into these characters. But more so than that, what is also baked into these characters, because Captain America was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who are Jews. They're both passed away. Superman was, Schuster and Siegel, also Jewish immigrants. So it's also based on what these people, when they came to this country, or their parents, grandparents came to this country, seeking that American dream. And that's what they're embodying, more so than an American government or political ideology.
Well, but the reason I asked that is because I know nothing about comic books, especially the backstory. And I was reading about that today or yesterday, and they were saying what you had said, that in the comic book, he had already been black a long time ago.
He's been captain. He gave it up. He's done it again.
Right. So this is not new. So if anything, they're being consistent with the trajectory of the comic book.
They're not making something up.
And secondly, what he said, the actor, I read it. And when I read it, I understood it as that he didn't say that Captain America wasn't American or he was bashing the U.S. It was more that Captain America, the America part, represented, as you said, a set of values, not a country.
Yeah.
So it was about values, not being patriotic.
Yes.
That's the way I understood it.
Yes.
And apparently that is the way it is.
And I think,
but then, of course, people took their outrage online,
because, again, if you're not outraged, are you even online, bro? Right. But again, you have to also understand, and this is where, again, I was about to say, like, yes, Darren, you understood what he meant because you understand things like context, which, is so sorely lacking from 98.73% of the population of this planet.
Common sense is not common.
I'm not even talking about common sense. I'm just talking about context. But again, to your thing is you can make the argument of patriotism, but you have to put it within the context of when these characters came into being. And these characters came into being, like, I mean, the boomers. It's post-war, right? Or actually not even, because Cap actually fought Nazis. So Cap actually existed. Maybe he was even created like while it was happening, and so. What that meant at that time, like anything in the world, evolves.
Of the current big comic book series that are still relevant today, which is the oldest one?
I would say Captain America.
So Captain America predates Superman?
I believe so. I could be wrong. It's either Captain America. I want to say it's either Captain America or Bat. Oh, damn it. I'm going to lose all nerd points right now. But they're todos ellos en la mano. It's like Captain America, Batman, Superman. They're all kind of around the same time frame.
So, listeners, for those of you who are not comic book nerds, all the comic books that I know and all the superheroes I know, I learned it from the Justice League, from the Hall of Justice,
from the Super
Friends,
from the thing he doesn't even remember it's called.
From the 80s. From the 80s.
Yep.
I loved that show. That is the extent of my superhero
Which is
knowledge.
Essentially, it is Saturday morning Justice League, is what we grew up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It was
¿Cómo se llamaba el perro?
Oh my God, Wonder Dog?
Who was Astro Dog?
Astro Dog?
Wasn't there an Astro Dog?
No. There was Crypto, which is Superman's dog.
Oh, okay. I thought
there's Astromut. Astromut is with Space Ghost.
No, Space Ghost. My Space Ghost?
Well, Astro is from
the Jetsons.
The Jetsons.
Right, but I think there's Astromut, which is part of, not from Space Ghost per se, but there's as part of Space Ghost, there was a whole...
Okay, but in the
Blue Falcon.
The Justice League, había un perro.
Yes, it was Wonder Dog.
Right, yeah, I remember there was a Justice League dog.
With Marvin and Wendy.
Because I remember there was an episode that it was like the little PSAs before you went to commercial.
Yep.
They had just wiped the floor of the Justice League and perro left their paws.
Yeah.
And they were like, you should wipe after your dogs. And the ones who were giving... I felt that in the... Super Friends, the ones who always gave, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
those little
the PSAs,
the little PSAs before the commercial. You should brush your teeth. It was always the Wonder Twins.
It was the Wonder Twins or Wendy and Marvin.
Yeah. The Wonder Twins, which
It
we
was
have
the
discussed,
junior Justice
which we have
Leaguers.
discussed, didn't have any like significant powers. Turn into water.
You know what?
A pail of water.
You know what?
Turn into ice.
He didn't, but she did.
What did she do more?
She could turn into any animal. And
So
sometimes they were like made up
He just turned into like
forms of his was like water based
Like elements?
Yeah. But only water based, so he couldn't turn into like fire.
turn into vapor.
Right.
Turn into steam.
Turn into an ice luge.
Turn into. I felt he was always like ice,
Well, because
and then his face would be on the
right,
floor.
yeah. Because it's just easier for her to carry a bucket of water.
And I remember Aquaman had those little rings, like.
the telepathic.
Okay,
Yeah,
do you know what sound I'm talking about? Yeah, that's how rings sound in water. Whatever that sound is.
that's the sound of telepathy.
That's what he did.
Yeah, he was calling the fish. That's what it was coming out of his head.
Okay, so it was
head.
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman,
Robin.
There was. Okay, which one else? There was a barbaric looking one.
Okay, so that was the base Super Friends, right? Then you had the Junior Justice Leaguers, which was either Wonder Twins and Gleek, the monkey, or Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog, right? Then there was other ones called Challenge of the Super Friends, where they got rid of all the Junior Justice Leaguers, and they had a rotating cast. So they had, this is when they got ethnic. This is when the Justice League had DEI. Okay. So they brought in Apache Chief, a Samurai, Black Vulcan, and El Dorado.
I don't know any of those people.
If you see them, you know who it is. Yeah. And then they then they had Firestorm and Green Lantern, and so they
Green Lantern, the Green
Flash,
Lantern.
yeah.
But the Green Lantern was in the original one, right?
Yes and no.
I remember
he
the
wasn't,
ring.
He wasn't
the ring.
right, but he wasn't one of like the base Justice League. Like he would come in and out. He was in some. He was out of others.
Okay. That's my comic. That is my superhero knowledge.
I mean, not a bad.
I mean, it was good.
It was good.
I love the Justice League.
Listen, I have a Hall of Justice ornament for my tree that when you push the button, it says, "Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice."
I mean, it gave us the great segue. Meanwhile,
yeah,
because that's where I know it from.
Well, of course.
And everything that you've seen that has gone viral since then that says "Meanwhile," and
it's all based on.
It's all based.
Yeah,
I think that's where I learned the word "meanwhile."
Before then, you didn't know how to transition.
I mean, why would I be transitioning at 5 years old? Well, actually, that's a whole conversation for a whole other podcast.
That's a different conversation, and that's not how you transitioned in the 80s.
We're not going there on this podcast.
Not today. Nay.
Oh yeah, did you see the 50th anniversary special at SNL?
I didn't. I have not gotten around to seeing it. I've seen like posts and clips and things are on here. Well, we were at a Quinces on Sunday when it was happening. Yeah, but then I just haven't gotten around to seeing it.
So it's the highest viewership in NBC, I think, in the last several years.
Really?
Over 15 million people saw it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
It looked fun.
What is your favorite?
I was telling Jose, I'm like, oh yeah, if somebody wanted to wipe out Hollywood, they could have done it because, I mean, you had Meryl Streep, Cher, Kevin Costner.
What is your favorite like skit or, character of all time of SNL? I have a couple.
So character and skit are two different things.
Character
for me,
skit,
no. For me, like so character wise, I don't know if she's my favorite, but she's it's the first one that I immediately thought of. Was Penelope.
Yes, she would be.
Just because Penelope, I know many Penelopes, and so for me, it's very true to life.
Penelope is based on true life.
Absolutely.
For those of you who don't know who Penelope is, so Penelope probably was relevant in like the aughts.
Yeah, it's Kristen Wiig.
And it was Kristen Wiig. And Penelope's character, she would always one-up people. Right. So, you'd be... The skits usually was like Penelope at or
it would be like, Mark films 15s on cruise ships. And she's like, I film 15s on cruise ships, but I filmed 2 of them, so I filmed 30s, and I filmed them in the water.
Yeah. I filmed 15s on rockets,
right.
And we've gone to the moon.
Right.
In fact, I live on the moon. I'm on the moon right now.
Right.
Well, she was twirling her hair. She was amazing. She was amazing.
And I like Stefan.
You know what? Stefan was never one of my favorites until the last appearance of Stefan.
Okay.
When him and Seth Meyers got married. I thought that was great.
And all the things were at the wedding.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I remember being a little kid and watching SNL, but not watching SNL.
Yeah, until like maybe middle school or high school.
Because I didn't really understand it. Yeah. But I remember we're going to pump you up. And then I remember obviously the church lady and all that.
Oh, I love the church lady. And
I remember
Linda Richmond.
Then I remember the Gap girls.
Yes.
A lot of people forget the Gap girls.
That's right, the Gap girls. Yeah.
A lot of people forget them. My favorite, I mean, you're gonna know, is it's Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island. I would say from like 2008 to like 2012, I thought I was part of that Lonely Island group.
You thought you were on the island?
I mean, you remember, I would just be, I'm on a boat, motherfucker. I would go all day. What was it say?
Flippy floppy.
Fuck, Glenn, I'm on a boat, motherfucker.
Something about buoys.
Fuck trees, I climb buoys, motherfucker. I mean, that first CD of The Lonely Island was freaking, that was like my soundtrack for like 3 years. Like, I loved them. I know that comedy is not for everybody, but that one was
comedy subjective. But
that one was my favorite. Yeah. But you know, when you look at a retrospective of SNL, you forget how many things they've had.
Yeah, Jane, you ignorant slut. Like, I mean, and that's like what, season 2.
Yeah,
you know, it's.
I don't know. Like, well, we weren't even born. Like the Coneheads and all that. That's way before our time.
That is way before.
Like, we weren't born, but you know them,
right? I mean, they are iconic.
Yeah, you know them. Like, for example, I know Jane Curtin from Kate and Alley, not from SNL.
Not from SNL,
but she is from SNL.
Yeah.
I don't know Eddie Murphy from SNL, but I mean, we wouldn't.
Right.
We weren't alive.
But Eddie Murphy's Gumby and Buckwheat are iconic.
Right, but when you start learning about pop culture, you start learning about that,
yeah.
about the whole thing with SNL. Yeah. And I mean, it's such a still relevant show.
Listen, that show is so relevant that one of my favorite skits ever eventually happened in real life and now is actually kind of happening still.
Is it the Heather Locklear Mike Myers one?
It sure is. It's so
that was a great episode. You know what episode that was?
That was with Janet.
That was with
Janet Jackson and Heather
Throb.
Locklear. Hello. I mean,
sometimes the planets do align.
They do. They just align. It's perfect. So she's playing like a QVC host, selling some, you know, product or whatever, and Mike Myers is like the inventor, and all of a sudden she just, but still very chipper, very whatever, she just goes on like this racist rants, and Mike Myers just doesn't know what to do. And then cut to a few years later at the Katrina thing, when
like 10 12 years later,
when Mike Myers is presenting with Kanye West, and you know, all of a sudden Kanye pulls like, you know, what is it, George
W. Bush is a racist,
right? Hates black people or whatever. And I swear to God, it's like Mike Myers was just like, am I still standing next to Heather Locklear in that skit? Like,
this is not SNL.
He didn't know what to do. and now Kanye's just continued. I think Kanye is actually at the racist QVC host, like the inappropriate host.
So you know the thing about Kanye and the swastika and the whole thing, right?
I do. I do know in terms of like that he had the commercial on the Super Bowl, and then you went to the site, and that's all that they sold there. And I have so many questions.
So here's my thing. I don't know how much you know about that or whatever. Do we still think he's trolling, or do we? And I don't mean the mental illness as an excuse or a free pass,
or something's happening, right?
Or do you really believe that this is the sort of manifestation of a mental illness?
I think two things can be true at once.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of column A and column B.
I think two things can be true at once. I think it can be.
And again, this is not an excuse whatsoever
at all
for him.
But it's trying to figure it out, right? I think you can be someone who's having a mental breakdown, and this is the path it goes. And you can also be somebody who's just like, you know what, I don't give a shit, because again, I've never been in the throes of a.
And for those of you who don't know, he had a commercial during the Grammys a couple of weeks back.
No, the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl a couple of weeks back, and then. I think the commercial led you to a site of his that when you went to the site, they had for sale
one item,
a shirt that the shirt had a swastika.
Yep.
Then obviously that was quickly taken down. But here,
my question is,
how did that get approved?
How did that get approved? How did that get approved? Because listen, I have actually placed Super Bowl ads, and they're asking you for the ad.
Unless he built the website himself,
even if he did,
right? I think it was a Shopify account. Like, how did that?
But even if he did. when you put a commercial, they ask you for it ahead of time. It's not like he delivered that 2 minutes before it aired.
Right.
There's standards and practices.
He has it's the Yeezy site is where it was, and that has already been populated by other merchandise that he was selling. It's just when it aired, he took everything else off.
Everything else off.
Okay.
So maybe when they vetted it, they saw it and they're like, "Oh, it's Yeezy."
It's Yeezy, right?
This isn't the first time that he's done this, where he does a cell phone video on the Super Bowl
Gotcha.
as a commercial. He did it, I believe, last year as well. Or a couple years ago when he came out with one of his albums.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what
because that was my as an advertiser, I was like, how did
what's
this
a
get through
shame
standards and practices?
In addition to the anti-Semitism and
we're
the
gonna put that at the
racism
top
and
of the
everything
list.
coming out of his mouth, it's a shame that me that I'm a hip hop lover and I've loved Kanye West is that
Quinces.
that I can't. I mean, it's not even that whether he's canceled or not. It's just that me as a listener, I mean, I still enjoy his early stuff, but it's like it's such a I listen to it so differently if I even listen to it that it's like, this man went from being a genius to being a crazy genius because I mean, Kanye West really is gifted in hip hop, and I mean, there comes a point that you just can't. Not that I ever was okay with anything that he said, but, there comes a point that it's like you're going from being provocative and controversial to now being reckless and dangerous. Yeah. And you are a public figure and you are spewing things that are extremely dangerous, especially now. And there's just no room or tolerance for that whatsoever. So we can't pretend like, oh, it's just an artist. It's wacky Kanye, we can't. It's past that. It's past that. It is very, very dangerous what he's doing. And I mean, it's shocking. I really do think, and as I said, by no stretch of the imagination is it a defense, but I really do think that, in terms of his mental health, he's going through stuff. Yeah, he's going through stuff that is he's not computing. And, he's being very reckless, and it's just sort of, it's disgusting. Like it's, Yeah.
Well, his next album will be, swastikas and naked wives.
I mean, even that, I don't think that's cool. That's not cool. There's a time and place to be provocative and be pushy, but to go with her and for her to be naked on a red carpet, that's not cool. That's just not cool.
Yeah, you save that for the Met Gala.
It's
when you want to go against the theme like Madonna.
It's not. Yeah, that's funny when the Met Gala people go completely against the theme.
Oh, the theme this year is dandy.
Dandy. Celebrating. I don't know why I know this, but it's dandy. That's a cool word, dandy.
That is a cool word.
Yeah. What's dandy and what's barbershop quartet?
We'll soon find out.
Yeah, we'll soon find out.
Find out.
Anyway, what do you have for me?
Yes. So I kind of wanted to touch on something that we had actually kind of touched on a little bit earlier today, where I was like, if you're not outraged, are you even on social, bro? And
is this about the Walmart cake? Do you know a thing about the Walmart cake?
No.
Oh, we got to talk about the Walmart cake.
Oh, well then, you know what?
Okay, bring that up.
I'm gonna. Should I bring it up and then we'll?
But no. Let me mention the Walmart cake.
Okay.
So I'm going with the outrage.
You're watching this happen live, Mark. So now you know that this is not just
going with the outrage. The outrage.
Okay.
The outrage. So there was this sort of outrage earlier this week or last week over the Walmart cake. So Walmart. I don't know if this is the first year Walmart did this, but Walmart this year sold heart cakes.
Okay. For Valentine's Day.
Okay. A cake in the shape of a heart. And they were very decorated, very cute and nice.
Typical Valentine's.
They looked they didn't look like a supermarket cake or like a mass produced cake.
Okay.
Right. So they were selling this and it's Walmart. So they were like 15, 20, 25 bucks. So
affordable.
There were some videos that were posted of bakers.
Okay.
Outraged that Walmart was selling these cakes because they were taking business away from them, right? Because now, they were like, oh, why would you want a mass-produced cake, that isn't good with cheap ingredients, that, is made by just somebody who's in a store, not a baker like me. Why would you want all that? And, why would you do that when you could buy a cake that's specialty made by bakers? You're supporting small businesses. But the problem is that these cakes sometimes are extremely expensive.
Yeah, like $80.
You know what? And there's a time and place for that, right?
That's a wedding. That's a Quinces.
There's a time and place for that. Or if you want to splurge. But if you don't want to splurge on a cake, you should have the option of not splurging on a cake.
Right.
I'm very fine with my Publix cake, as we've discussed.
As we very well know.
So that started sort of like a snowball effect of then all these bakers coming on and being like, yeah, Walmart is killing small businesses and bakeries and blah 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 blah.
Okay,
Let me finish. It cut on and cut on and cut on and cut on and cut on. So then obviously because it cut on, then there were people online now fighting with the bakers, like, oh, you guys use box cake mixes too.
Right.
You've said it yourself, and not everybody can spend $75 on a cake, and so on and so forth. Well, most of that content that started out outrage was all fake. It was people saying that bakers that they said they were outraged that Walmart was doing this, and it was all fake. It was all like satire, but people took it seriously. So
the bakers weren't real.
At least the initial ones were not. Now, I'm gonna go with this. I saw one of those original videos that the baker, the home baker, or the artisan baker was pissed off. I knew the second I saw it that it was satire.
But again,
because she was like, it's not my fault that you can't afford a cake. A cake should be a luxury, and if you can't afford it, then just don't have it. But don't have crappy Walmart cake, because Walmart, doesn't pay their employees, and I'm an entrepreneur and blah blah blah. The moment I saw that, I knew it was satire. Right? So it was that video and many other videos like that were satire that then started that. And then real bakers started to chime in saying like, oh yeah, Walmart sucks. And then people started to now attack the bakers. It was all fake outrage. So what we learned from this is, if you want to go buy a Walmart cake for $20, go buy it. And if you want to spend $100 on a hard cake, then go buy it. Boom.
Done.
Right? But again, we live in this world of social media where everything at this point in time is clickbait.
Everything has to have a reaction.
Everything is rage bait to get people pissed off and then just go on the algorithm. I love, another one that I love of people that are like personal trainers or into fitness, and they put like, oh, I'm 55 when they're like 25. So then everybody could comment, oh, you're not 55.
The other day I saw something on TikTok that was very clearly like a video of the Mediterranean, and they were like, look at all these beautiful vistas of Havana, Cuba. And
they do it on purpose.
And I'm like, but who's falling for this?
Right. But when you go, as you know, when you go and you comment and you put, that is not Havana, it's wherever, it's Mykonos.
Right.
You just shot that video up the algorithm.
Oh, 100%.
So they know what they're doing.
Oh, listen.
It's just that I don't understand how people fall for it.
Listen, I'm the first one who says, sometimes we post things on our Instagram, and the people who comment the most don't even follow us. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're still feeding the algorithm. So you know what? I thank you for your service.
Which, by the way, I'm going to get a little shady here. It's going to be a little shade. So we posted the video.
Can I get into this outrage?
Wait, hold on.
Before
because
I get
a
outraged.
little outrage. Okay. We posted this video earlier this week where I was talking about people talking out loud in supermarkets. Yeah. And the video's done really well. And we've gotten like 150 comments
gets it.
of people like, oh my God, yeah. And we've gotten one nasty
I know
comment.
Exactly the one you were
One nasty comment. And I just think it's funny that in a sea of like, everybody like, oh my God,
they get the joke.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't even a joke. That was a commentary.
But
right?
what I mean is they get what we're doing.
Right. That there's the one person that tried to be nasty. But what I do love is that neither us nor our Pero Primos engaged with that comment.
Absolutely not. Because that's why they're there.
And that's what we do that. We're not engaging people.
Engage.
So if you leave a nasty little comment on our page, one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to delete it, and we're going to delete it. or we're not going to respond. And our Pero Primos aren't going to respond either.
they-
Because something we love here in Pero Let Me Tell You is that our comment section and our followers and listeners are awesome people. We've created great community here.
And we love having conversation on it.
We do.
Have conversation, but don't be dicks.
And you could be back and forth on something, but we're not gonna be other IG pages. No, we're gonna keep it fun here.
It's not the
fun.
way we do things. But yeah, no. So I had told you the other day, I was like, I'm like, do you think we've become like addicted to being outraged, right?
Yeah.
And I literally just typed this into Google. I was like, has social media made us addicted to outrage? Yeah. And yes, according to many experts, social media platforms have significantly contributed to a quote-unquote addiction to outrage by designing algorithms that prioritize provocative and inflammatory content, which can trigger strong emotional reactions, keep users engaged, and essentially, and this was the part that I found, I don't want to say the word terrifying, but a little like, fuck. Essentially, quote-unquote, gamifying anger and making it a source of validation through likes and shares.
Yeah. But that's not a secret.
I know, but the use of the word gamifying anger, that term specifically took me aback.
When you look at,
we've taken things that used to have weight and have actual, context and meaning, and people would I feel strongly about it, and we've turned it into so much of like Mario Kart.
When you look at most content online nowadays, whatever it could be, whether it's entertainment, whether it's food related, it doesn't matter. Obviously political, it doesn't matter. When you look at content online and you look at the comments, the first slew of comments are always going to be negative comments. Yeah. Something can have 1,000 comments. If the first 10 comments, or there's 10 comments that are negative, those will be the top comments. Even if the 99% of them are positive or neutral. Why? Because they want you to go to the comment section. They want you to see that. They want you to be enraged. They want you to respond and create engagement. So what happens is that when you do that over and over and over again in a wide range of topics and content, you're in a perpetual state of just rage, of like you go online to get mad. Yeah. And what is just incredible to me is how many people still don't see that and they still don't get it, because I know that that's what's happening. So I'm not falling in that trap. No. When I see it, I'm like, okay, well, these are the negative comments. Let me scroll. Oh, okay, here's where the normal comments start. Because I don't
even go to the comments section.
I know that these media companies are playing with us. So I just hope that people, especially people that are very into social media, become a little bit wiser about that and just know that all these systems and all these programs and all these algorithms are built to create rage bait, and to create, through rage bait, create content, which content equals more people on the platform, which means more money and more dollars to these companies, not to us. So I really hope people can really know that that is what's going on.
Yeah, especially now more so with, the advent of AI.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better, kids.
Yeah. So it's just it's just the world we live in. And I say this all the time, like most of the content, if it's at least half of the content that I see online is food related.
Right.
Food.
You can't get more benign.
Recipes, restaurant reviews, people going out to eat, food related. And when you read these comments, it's like, these comments are terrible.
Like, why are you so angry about
it's a
this
freaking recipe,
Right.
And then you realize it's like, oh, it's like the first 10 comments.
Right. That's what we
then
do.
Everything else is fine. Because I could understand that in a politically inclined comment, how it's going to break loose. But you mean to tell me over somebody making, yum yum sauce, like people are going to lose their shit? You know what I mean? Like
you use one too many yum yums.
Right. Yum 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 sauce. But yum yum sauce I love. It's very yummy, but bad yum yum sauce is shit.
Is it really? I don't think I've ever had bad. I've only had professionally made yum yum sauce.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That you have an Asian chef at home making you yum yum sauce.
I do.
The best yum yum sauce on earth, I'll say to all three cameras, is Samurai here in Miami.
Well, that's what I mean.
Double pink sauce.
I've never had yum yum sauce like at home. So
I don't know what that other sauce tastes like. I had it one time, the first time I went to Samurai when I was like 12. I had it once, and then because obviously when you go the first time at Samurai here in Miami, you You have the steak sauce, I think, and the pink sauce.
Sure.
And then you discover that the pink sauce is magical.
It is.
And then you never have that other sauce ever again.
Why bother?
No, y eso that I have cut down on the pink sauce from Samurai.
No,
I used to have a soup.
Yeah, no.
Like, I would give the plate to the guy.
You
put
would
it
have
in.
yum yum sauce with whatever else was there. Not whatever with yum yum sauce.
I used to have yum yum sauce with a side of fried rice.
Una sopa de yum
But
yum.
isn't it yummy?
Well, I mean, lástima fuera.
But the problem is that when you eat that yum sauce, you got to hurry back home. You're not doing anything else the rest of the night.
Yes.
But it's so good. So good. Samurai here in Miami, I mean, for those of you who live in South Florida, you know, it's one of those, if you know, you know. In terms of teppanyaki restaurants and hibachi, Benihana, none of them come close to Samurai.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, you've been.
No, I know, but I've never compared them.
Have you gone to Samurai?
Samurai is the GOAT. It's literally the best. I didn't even know that Benihana's was a thing until I was much older, and I want to say like my 20s.
Wow.
We used to just always go to Samurai. And I agree. The double sauce.
Yeah.
Don't double sauce it, please, all the time.
And then you go to Benihana or any other teppanyaki place, and you're like, what is this?
It's not the same. And that yum sauce goes good on everything.
It does.
Vegetables, just put it on the entire plate.
I mean, guys, it's in the title. It's called Yum Yum. I mean, like...
But you know that Samurai is owned by Benihana. I don't think it always was, but it is. It has been for quite some time. But I respect the fact that Benihana was like, we're not changing a thing.
They're like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We will revolt.
You know what? I think we can thank Steve Aoki for that one.
Oh, because his father is the creator of Benihana,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, but he didn't create Samurai.
You don't know what he consulted with.
Right.
Maybe he told his dad, he's like, if you change it, I'm going to throw a cake at your face.
I have mixed feelings about Steve Aoki.
It's the cake.
It's the cake. Why are you going to ruin a perfectly good cake?
I know.
And when he's an ultra and all that, you know that cake is from Publix.
It is. You know he's not going to like a bakery.
I just hope it's one of the frozen Publix cakes. You know, the ones in the freezer, not the made to order.
I think it would have to be because he usually goes on later. So he probably gets it por la mañana and it falls a little bit.
Yeah. When I see those videos of people getting caked by Steve Aoki, I'm like, oh, después estás empegostado. The rest of Ultra.
Buttercream.
Que ya you're already empegostado because
Again,
it's sweaty.
by the time he comes out, you've been there all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Now you have to be all day now with buttercream all over your crevices.
You know, I enjoy buttercream. I don't want to wear buttercream.
That is a good motto for life.
Yeah, some of my t-shirts.
I love buttercream, but I don't need to wear buttercream.
And then I'm going to wear it in front of Steve Aoki. Just be like, no, sir.
No, sir.
No.
Is he any good as a DJ?
I mean, I like his stuff. He's the one who did, not that long ago, the remix with La Gata Bajo la Lluvia.
Oh, that was him?
That was him.
Well, I didn't like that remix.
Of course not, because, you know, if it's a remix, why would you like it?
Well, it's not that. It's just like, La Gata Bajo la Lluvia is like my favorite song in Spanish. I don't need to hear a techno remix of it.
But I can, okay, here's the thing. I love the fact that he heard that song and he's like,
I guess.
You know what? This would be a bop for the kids at Ultra.
I guess. I mean, listen, you know what, like, makes me feel old? And I'm like, do people still listen to Tiesto and like Paul Oakenfold and all that?
I don't think so. Oh, now I feel old too because I didn't think about that.
Like, those are
the names.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
like even Avicii now is like old school.
Old school. Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't know who any of the DJs are now.
Right.
I couldn't.
Maybe if I hear them. What was that song? Dun 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 dun.
I can't get no sleep. Insomnia.
Insomnia. Yes. Insomnia is a great song.
That is a great song.
A great song.
Yeah, I don't know who like the kids are listening to now. I guess Benny Blanco.
De Selena Gomez.
Yeah. Zed.
The kids are into esta Chapo Roan.
Well, she's not a DJ, but yes.
And Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes. Again, not a DJ.
As I have said here before, Espresso, you won.
You won.
Mira, that I was like, I don't like the song. I don't like it.
And you know
I don't like
it. And she wore you down. You're not even a coffee drinker.
Yeah. I don't like it. The song is stupid. The song makes no sense until you find me. Yeah, he thinking about me.
It's such a cute song. And the video, to me, that's one of those songs where the video sold me on the song.
I accepted that the song is fluff and it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to have.
Not everything has to be deep.
Especially me, since I'm all about lyrics.
Yeah, not everything has to be deep. Like, do you really, like, seriously, do you really want, like, you know, to be on the dance floor and be like, oh my God, listen to this remix, it's Bob Dylan, you know? Like, do you want to hear those lyrics while you're
Not everything
while
can
you're
be.
tripping
Not
on Molly?
everything can be.
No.
I Can Make You Love Me.
Yeah, exactly.
Bonnie
You know,
Raitt.
like, yeah, you don't want to be like drunk off your ass and be like, oh my God, these lyrics make me want to hang myself. Like, you know, no.
Speaking of drunk,
I was gonna say hanging.
is it last soda time?
It is last soda time. So do
It's
you want
time for beverages.
It's beverages all around. You
So
wanna go first?
my last soda today is going to be our learn segment.
Oh.
Learn. See, learn. So
All right.
today, I want to talk to you about ships.
Oh God.
Well, no, I want to talk.
I made this happen, didn't I, Mark?
I want to talk about the SS United States and why it's important and why this week it's relevant.
All right.
So
This sounds lengthy. I'm gonna lean back.
So the SS United States is one of the last greatest ocean liners. And when I mean ocean liners, I mean ships that were built for transportation, transatlantic transportation. I mean, guys, this is episode 331. You know that I'm obsessed with ships and
know what's
ocean
coming.
liners,
You know what's coming.
right? So the SS United States was one of the last ocean liners that was built specifically for transatlantic voyages. There's only one left today, which is the Queen Mary 2, real ocean liners. And so the SS United States came out in the 60s, and it was very, very important for the United States because it also was built to double as a troop ship in the event that World War III happened. Because during World War II, one of the things that made the Allies so strong were that the Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mary were used as troop ships, so they could transport tens of thousands of troops from like the U.S. to like Europe and so on and so forth. So the United States, since they became especially a superpower after the Second World War, they built this ship. But it was a transatlantic liner, and you know the farandula and celebrities and rich people of the day went on the SS United States. It's a very, very historic ship, very important. And it really meant a lot to like the history of maritime history in the U.S. and the world. And obviously because air travel really started to dominate in the 60s and obviously 70s. I believe in the 70s, she was retired. And when she was retired, she went through she was mothballed, and she went to like different ports. But the point is, she's been in Philadelphia for the last like 30 some years in a port in Philadelphia. And during those 30 some years, there have been like a lot of different things that have come. They were going to turn her into a convention center like the Queen Mary in Long Beach, but those plans fell through. NCL was going to buy her to be part of their NCLA America line, but then that fell through. Then I think Crystal Cruises was going to make her into a luxury liner, and that fell through. There was even a time to bring. There was even a sort of proposal out there to bring her to Miami to put her next to the arena. Right, okay. To port her there and have her be a floating hotel. And I'm like, that was during the time that I lived there. And I'm like, can you imagine if this ocean liner would like be permanently parked in front of my house? Like, I mean, that is like a dream come true. Yeah. Well, anyway, all these things have come and gone in the last 30 some years, and nothing has come to fruition because of funds. And then they tripled the rent of the port in Philly. So long story short, they can't afford to keep her there anymore. She's owned by the SS United States Conservatory. They can't keep her anymore. And she is making her final voyage starting this week. She is going to be sunk off the coast of Florida to be the world's largest coral artificial reef.
Oh.
And I am gutted and devastated. Everybody that is like into the history of ocean liners is just, this is like a really bad thing. But I give my last soda to the SS United States because I really think for those of you listening out there, it really is something worthy for you to look up on your own and see, because it's a very, very important ship, and it has a lot of significance and a lot of relevance. Again, not only to maritime history, but pop culture history, American history. It still has she was the fastest ship in the world, and I believe she still holds the record westbound, or sea, from Europe to America, westbound. Yeah, she still holds one of the records in terms of the fastest. She could go from one coast to the other in like 3 days, which is like crazy. Super fast. So it's a very important ship that unfortunately, due to money, couldn't find a second act. And now she's going to be sunk all these years later and made into an artificial reef. Hooray.
Well,
So,
I mean, at least she
wasn't scrapped. I mean, I guess it could have been worse.
Right. You know, she's going to have a second life. She's going to have a second act. And maybe Louis Aguirre's happy about this.
I'm not happy about it. So, listeners, that my last soda goes to the SS United States. Go read a little bit about it. It's very interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Cool. If it makes you feel any better, Pete Davidson bought the Staten Island ferry. They were gonna
The orange one?
I don't know which one, but he bought one of those and he's renovating it. I guess to all the different levels are going to be something different. The top's, I guess, supposed to be a hotel. Then they have like a theater. I don't know what it is.
That's pretty awesome.
But there you
Save the ships. Pete gets it.
Maybe Pete can save this too.
No, this is too big. It's a huge ocean liner.
Maybe you can put together a consortium.
Yeah. So anyway,
Also,
what's your last soda?
How often do I get the chance to use the word consortium?
Consortium.
So my last soda, I'm actually I had a different one, but I pivoted it. Based on what we were talking about a little bit earlier, I am going to give my last soda to something that came out actually a couple months ago, but I think we were on hiatus when it happened, was the trailer for the new Superman movie. Mm-hmm. And when it came out, you saw, I saw it at your house.
Yeah.
But by that point, it was like the 10th time that I had already seen it in the span of like 3 days. I think that, again, reserving a judgment on the movie until it comes out, but you know, you want to talk about what we were talking about earlier, which is something that evokes that sense of just hope and understanding of what the character is, and that, you know, here's someone, again, the whole crux of Superman is that he is Clark Kent, not Superman, right? He is not the alien. He is the human that he became here. And despite all his powers and despite everything that he could, you know, he could essentially subjugate the entire planet if he really wanted to, right? And he instead chooses to help us and to be a beacon of light and of hope. And that trailer really, really, in my opinion, got that, communicated that. And I think, you know, that's when people always ask me, they're like, you know, oh, I love Marvel, and why do you like DC? I'm like, because DC heroes to me just always seemed a little bit more hopeful. I can appreciate that Marvel heroes tend to live in the gray sometimes a little bit more because they tend to be more in the quote unquote real world, just by virtue of the fact that they're in New York and not a metropolis or a Gotham. But I don't look to my heroes to be real. I look to them to be aspirational, especially when we're talking about these larger than life superheroes, which are essentially modern day pantheon of the Greek gods. And so that trailer to me was just, I still watch it whenever I'm a little down, whenever I just need to pick
I like
me up.
that it has your original score.
Yeah, I mean, you always
because
have, you always
I
have to have that John
don't know, I
Williams.
don't know if the, and I'm not a, as we discussed here, I'm not a super hero person. The Christopher Reeve Supermans,
Yeah.
I remember they were big when I was a kid, but I can't say I was into them. But the score,
Yeah, it's the theme.
that is iconic.
Yeah,
that theme.
Superman's theme, yeah.
And I feel that they left it behind for the last few
They
movies.
always kind of incorporate it, but everybody wants to kind of put their own mark on things. And I think especially with the last iterations, that was a little darker. My humble opinion, if you're doing Superman dark, you've missed the point of Superman.
Actually, I was about to ask you that. And this is coming from a total lay opinion, somebody who doesn't know shit about this. What I do know about Superman is that he's not dark.
No.
So why sort of the insistence to make it dark?
Because a lot of times people will say in order to make something interesting, you have to make it darker and gritty and grim and, you know, we're in the shadows. To me, if you say that you have to do that to something in order to make it interesting, what I've heard is, oh, you're not good at your job. Because it means that you can't work with something and find something new or interesting to say with the material as at its source, at its heart. You have to turn it into something else that it is not. And again, that is why Superman is the light, Batman is the dark, and they are, you know, they are friends. They are the yin and the yang. They work off of each other.
Because like when I think of like the Christopher Nolan Batmans, I love the Batman movies, the Michael Keaton ones.
Yeah.
I love it as a movie lover, as like a movie buff.
As a series, yeah.
I not as a comic book person, not I think those movies are fantastic. But at least from the cinema aspect, Batman, and I'm talking about the 1989 movie and on.
Yeah.
They were always dark.
Yeah.
Right? Because the first Batman, which Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, that was quirky, but it was also really dark.
Right.
And like it had really dark humor.
Right.
Right?
That was Tim Burton.
And even the one with Michelle Pfeiffer, again, it had some really like quirky moments, but then other moments were like, whoa.
Again,
right?
It was Tim Burton. Yeah. 100%.
But Superman was always like, it's Superman. It's like,
right.
Superman is coming to save us.
And he has to be the beacon
he's bright blue.
Exactly. He's the big blue Boy Scout.
And so I never understood why they did that shift of like, let's make this like a dark introspective movie.
Again, because I think they don't understand the character.
Right. It's okay to have fun and be bright and and colorful. Did you like the Henry Cavill ones?
No.
Like I thought the first one was okay.
No.
Did you like the one with this poor guy that did one that's
Brandon Routh?
Yeah, I remember Kevin Spacey was in that movie, and I remember watching that movie and thinking, "This is bad."
That I feel bad for Brandon Routh in that movie. I feel bad for him, and I've said this many times because he was a virtual unknown. I think at that point the biggest thing he had done was like an arc on MTV's Undressed, and he's cast as Superman, and it just was not like it just went downhill. You know what I mean? And I always feel bad for him. He's okay now. He's rebounded. He's fine. But it was that was not a good movie.
And there was like the Ben Affleck Superman.
No, that was he played George Reeves in Hollywoodland, so he wasn't Superman per se. Yeah.
But okay, well, we'll see. We'll see
what happens.
Our last sodas were both about things we're nerds about.
That's true.
Superman and ships.
That is true. That is true. Embrace the nerd.
Anyway, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your cafecito, your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Yes,
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. And just, for those of you who are still listening to us on the podcast, make sure to check us out on YouTube as well. Check out these bright, shiny faces every once in a while.
Yes, we're in high def.
Yes, we are.
I was going to say,
I don't know that I should be in high def.
I was going to say we're on 1080p, but no, we're so much more than that. We're like 4K plus.
Yes, we're like that last season of Desperate Housewives. We're in high def.
Listen, I remember when I got my 720p plasma TV, that was the shit.
That's the one that looked almost fake.
No, I still have that TV. That's the one I have in my bedroom, and I will never get rid of that TV until it breaks because I love plasmas or high contrast.
No, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
like everything looked like a novela.
Things sort of looked CGI.
Yeah.
So anyway, We're on high def, so check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and check on Cultura Talks and check out the rest of the shows as well.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody, have a great weekend. We will see you next week.
Yes, sir. Cuídense, gente.